welcome to the final episode of our series, Human-Centered Transformation. Today we will be discussing how exactly can we unlock the power of tomorrow through human-centered transformation. I am Nopi Mubaiwa, your host from the PwC South Africa Experience Consulting team, where we are dedicated to understanding, designing, and building better human experiences. Over the past 2 months, we have been joined by PwC subject matter experts who have really helped us unpack what does it mean to be tech-enabled whilst placing the human at the center. Today, I am joined by two phenomenal women who I am so incredibly inspired by, and I can't wait to just hear them share their opinions as subject matter experts when it comes to human-centered transformation. So let me introduce them. We have Thaaniya Isaacs, who is the people partner for cloud and digital, as well as our experience consulting lead. And we have Marthle Plessis, who is a partner from people and organization. So ladies, I am so incredibly excited for you to be here, and I don't want to waste any more time. So let's just delve into it. So Marthle, I think we'll start with you. What does it mean to be an evolving human being within a very tech-focused society?
That's a very interesting question, and obviously we have a lot to do with that in terms of our companies, clients that we work with, but also the professionals that we engage with. And the best advice that I can give is that you need to look at it from a holistic perspective. You are a human being within a personal context, a professional context, but also in the society that you live in. And it's best to view it as an integrated whole and see how you can optimize or develop in each of those spaces. So from a personal perspective, it is good to understand how tech and AI can enhance your life, your well-being, your wellness, how you can better communicate and collaborate with the people around you, whether it is in work context or at a personal level. From a professional perspective, build out your knowledge in terms of how AI can help you to be a better professional in your subject matter domain. How do you become more creative and innovative, and how can AI and tech help you to enhance your value add to your business? But then you also live in society. So it is important to understand from a sustainability perspective, how can you use AI and technology to contribute to the greater good of society and the community that you live in? And then also from a social impact. So what is the impact on jobs and people? And how can you rather use technology to augment the skills of people rather than only replace? And all of this is about the topic of today. It is about human-centered design in a tech enablement environment. And how do you take the user experience, but also the bot or the machine and people combination to the best that it can offer?
Thank you so much for that. I just love seeing how excited you get when you talk about this. And I think one of the biggest things I've taken out of that is the importance of the holistic journey when it comes to being tech-enabled and when it comes to being a firm or a business or an organization that's focused on human-centered transformation. So Thaaniya, based on what you've heard Marthle share, I'm quite interested to know from your perspective, what do you think are some of the biggest misconceptions when it comes to creating a tech-enabled society? And how do you think that this might be impacting leaders of today?
That's a great question. And, I want to reflect back just over my own career that spans nearly 30 years now. When I joined the profession, the internet was just coming on board and people were starting to do online retail for the first time. And their change was phenomenal, and change was important, and we all spoke about, technology. And you go through the decades since then, this is not a new concept. But what is different? And why do we give so much emphasis to it? And I think it's got to do with the nature of the change. Because when you look at AI, generative AI in particular, but just the tech that we see today, it's not incremental change that we're seeing. It's quadruple, it's leaping forward. And so, to Martle's point, thinking about the human and the impact on the human in all spheres of society is going to be absolutely important so that we don't leave too many people behind. But in an organization and businesses where they're looking to transform and embrace technology, it has an impact both on your customer, who you want to serve better, but also on your employees who have to enable that change. And we still work with organizations where a lot of their processes are manual, and they're looking to make that jump from a manual, intensive process to something that's AI and completely automated. That's a massive jump to make. And so when we think about change and change management, and Marthle will be able to testify to this, it's no longer just a change management, stakeholder analysis, journey that you're going on, and a training journey that you're going on. You now have to think about how do you bring people on board from the time that you actually start your transformation journey and meet people where they're at. Yeah. And that's quite an important point, because you may be looking at a target market that's very tech savvy, and your change is not that significant. You may be looking at a workforce that is quite tech savvy. Your change may not be that significant. But where, especially within our context, that is not always the case. You've got to meet the people where they are and be able to map that journey so that we are looking at maximum adoption of that technology, so that when we serve our customers, we serve them through the best of that, what that technology can actually deliver.
I love when you say that we need to meet people where they're at. And I think, just based on different projects that we've had within PwC, we've seen the importance of bringing our clients along the journey with us. And perhaps what I'm interested to know then is, and a follow-up question to you, Thaaniya, is how can we then design tech solutions with the human in mind?
So I want to give a really fun example of that. And I think this really demonstrates the point. So we were working with a client, and their target group was youngsters between the ages of 13 and 18. So, these are our tech savvy people. And we were designing a game, and our designers were very proud of their initial designs, and they came up and they were very excited, and they thought that whatever they were doing was like super cool. And then we thought, let's bring our target market to the design table, right? Let's get their opinions on it. And lo and behold, we got that target market in, and they threw out most of the concepts that we thought were cool and introduced a number of other ideas that we just didn't think of. And today, that is one of the greatest successes, because you look at the stats for that game, the adoption is significant. And so when we talk practically about, what is more, what do we need to do more? It's a change in mind shift. Yeah. And a lot of the time when we start putting budgets aside for projects, what do? We think mostly of how much the tech is going to cost and what that project plan is to get the tech in. But what we're not often thinking about and putting at the center is the human and the human impact, and what they need, and what it's going to take to get adoption from the people that are going to be impacted by this tech. Yeah. And so the first thing I would say is that mind shift needs to shift away from putting the majority of the budget just to the tech side, but actually really thinking about what do we need to do to make sure we get that adoption from ideation all the way through. So we talk about design studios, we talk about bringing people in right at the start of the process, when we start the ideating process, and we're making sure we're not just putting tech because we think it's cool, but actually putting tech to solve the problem that our customers and our users really need from us. And so we're being very purpose-led in that process. And we also talk about the design process not ending. So that may sound a bit scary, but just as tech is evolving, people evolve, generations evolve, the way they use it, understand it, embrace it evolves, their needs evolve. And so constantly staying in touch with your customer, constantly staying in touch with the people that are impacted is equally important. And so that really takes, the focus away from being tech-centered, which is really what we're very used to. All our methodologies are tech. How do we get the tech in? What's the process for getting the tech in? But really now starting to emphasize the human impact side of it.
I think that's absolutely amazing. And it takes me back to something that I've learned quite recently is the whole idea of having that agile mindset, right? So being able to shift from being product focused to being people focused and, taking your client throughout the entire process, that continuous ideation. And I think that's fantastic. But I think something that I want to throw out there is we're excited about tech. We're excited about the importance of, creating that relationship. But Marthle, how does ethics come about when it comes to the use of generative AI, when it comes to the fact that tech is accelerating so fast? And of course, there's some people who are worried. What do we need to know about that?
Ethics is definitely a topic that we need to get our heads around really quickly. Tech is evolving by the day. Generative AI is being used by so many more people every day. And the ethical component, according to me, is almost lagging behind a little bit. So for an organization, obviously you want to make sure that the ethical component speaks to your values and the behaviors that you want to drive. Because ethics shouldn't just be something that is a policy or a guardrail filed in a folder. It should be something that the people in your organization embrace as part of the way we do things here. And therefore, it's important to be deliberate in terms of how you manage ethics. The ethics committee is a good idea to be involved in the identification of projects, understanding the implication on your people. But it's also about making sure that your people are educated around tech, but the ethical component and what does it mean to their job specifically. If you think about it from a practical implementation perspective, then when you do your implementation, think about jobs that can help govern the process. An AI ethicist is a job that would look at new technology that the organization wants to embrace, but the impact that it will have on people. When you do the development of AI, understanding that it needs to be traceable and transparent so that you understand or can explain the decisions that has been made. Fairness, bias that often happens in bot nowadays, regularly check that that is still in control. So therefore, policies and guardrails have to be in place. People need to be educated, but they truly need to embrace it through how they use tech every single day.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. So ladies, we don't have a lot of time left. And I think I'd like to end this by asking you, Thaaniya, how do you think the concept of human-centered transformation is going to evolve, given the opportunities, given the challenges that we've spoken about?
There's so many ways to answer that question because on the one hand, it's what I'd like to see happening. Then there's possibly the reality of what's likely to happen. I think Martle's spoken to the ethical side of it. And I think that some people are not going to give attention to it the way they ought to. So I think we're going to see some mistakes being made and some hard lessons being learned. And already we're starting to see that, right? Where we've placed too much reliance on AI to make a decision and the inherent biases cause real reputational damage to some organizations. And I think we'll see more of those kinds of mistakes coming through. And through that we learn. And I hope we learn really rapidly. And I also think that regulation will play a role in this. But what I'm really hoping for is that we really embrace that mindset of let's put the people at the center of this, and let's make sure that we shift project milestones away from it's a success when the tech goes live to it's a success when the humans have adopted and embraced it. And almost coining a phrase of human-centered adoption. How do we put that right at the forefront and make that the most important side of it? I also think that tech can even play a role in enhancing that process. So how do we make that ideation process so much more immersive using tech so that people can imagine what it is that we are talking about and how it can improve their lives or their work or whatever it is we're seeking to impact. So that's what I'd like to see, but the future will tell.
That's amazing. I love the term human-centered adoption. Ladies, this has been such an interesting conversation. We truly appreciate your time. To everyone who's watching, thank you so much for joining us in our series, Human-Centered Transformation. We went from unpacking what it means to be a tech-enabled business to going through what it means to have an agile mindset and delivering quality for our clients, but most importantly, placing the human at the center. I am Nopi Mubaiwa, your host from the PwC South Africa Experience Consulting team, where we are dedicated to understanding, building, and designing better human experiences.